All right, my friends, how you doing today? It's another Thursday, which means another Inside Star Citizen, and this time we're going to be looking into mining changes coming to Star Citizen. It's been the longest running industrial profession in the game for about 5 years now, but really hasn't seen super significant changes on the resource side of things, more so just on the addition of components and gadgets. So today we're going to look and see what they're going to do to update resources, resource scattering, and generally how you can find and more reliably know where resources might be when you're mining. Hopefully they talk a little bit about quantum and the economy and how it might fit in with crafting, but we'll see. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoy my commentary.
Just when we think we're out, you all pull us back in. The mining profession journey has been one of the most collaborative in all of Star Citizen, with no shortage of player feedback and game systems that have been designed for flexibility and iteration. The upcoming Alpha 3.19 is set to bring with it a whole host of fixes and evolutions to improve the ways that players make their fortunes in the future.
Keep in mind today, we're seeing the mining feature team talk. We're not going to see the mission team today, I don't think. So there are missions planned for mining coming in 3.19. I don't think that's the focus today, though. I think today they're talking about how the actual functionality will change. So there is a good chance there is actually more to mining coming in that update than what they showed today.
Last time we said that we don't do anything about mining anymore and we leave it at rest. I think it was even when we introduced the mining gadget. So it was quite a while ago. And yeah, well,
I feel like it wasn't a while in Star Citizen terms because it was just a year, which, you know, still falls in our window of soon. It's kind of particular.
Here we are, sitting here again and explaining to you why we actually had to retouch or wanted to take mining to the next level. So here we are, and giving you something more to enjoy with mining gameplay. So when we left mining, we thought it was already in a good state. So even introducing with the mining gadget, we introduced from our perspective, a nice little different approach on mining. So you have to leave your ship, attach the mining gadget to the rock, then get back into the ship, and then do your mining procedure. And
this is part of what makes mining feel a little more in-depth than other professions. You can mine with a ship, literally just get a laser and mine. You can get subcomponents. You can get you can get passive subcomponents. You can get active subcomponents. You can put these gadgets, literally get out of your ship, put the gadget on the rock, get back in, and then mine that. You can stack these gadgets because their percentages and their benefits stack and continue to combine on top of each other. So there's like a lot of different ways to go about mining. There's also FPS mining that like nobody does, but there are a lot of ways to go about it. And that's always been nice to see because it feels like it builds depth. But at the same time, there's also kind of mining itself doesn't challenge you to need to use those things. I think that's might be where they're headed.
We also thought that it will help with difficulty, so that especially new players can buy a mining gadget to bring down resistances of the rock drastically, so they have an easier mining experience. What we didn't have in mind is that we also have to facilitate expert miners that still need a challenge there. So what we tackled is a general balancing pass. That is, we adjusted all the items, all mineable heads, all mining heads, all sub-items that you attach to the mining head, the mining gadgets, everything now has different values.
That's good. That's one of the problems, is that like there just wasn't enough variability. I don't want to play a game where we're all using the same laser to do the same thing.
We cleaned it up drastically. So it is now clearer what are the positives of what mining head, what are the positives of a sub-item, what are the positives of a mining gadget, and what are the negatives that come with it. And this is more important now because we also touch the minables themselves. So all the minables that you find now have different values in terms of their resistance, in terms of their instability. So what we try to do is match certain mining heads with certain materials or resources that you find. So you will have mining heads that go better with, for example, aluminum, and others that might go better.
Boom. That's what we want. You want a laser for different types of materials. Oh, that's great.
With iron. And this directly leads to the next thing. So we introduced finally iron. And iron is a ship exclusive mineable for now. We also introduced some new resources.
Did they say explosive?
And iron is a ship exclusive mineable for now.
Oh, ship exclusive.
We also introduced some new resources like genelite. Genelite is exclusively found in caves, and it's only mineable with FPS. And the reason why we wanted to introduce that is that, like, from the data that we gather from all of you playing, is no one uses FPS mining as a game mechanic outside of the prison. So we wanted to make it more attractive to players to use a multi-tool with a mining attachment other than just having it attached because you found it. So right now we want you to try out the new caves, find the new mineable, and I can guarantee you that it is really profitable to bring that with you.
So the nice part about playing in an alpha is they can just kind of throw something in there and be like, this is worth a ton of money, go try it, just because they want us to use it, not for the actual game balance purposes.
It's not as profitable as the mining as a profession, because if it's your day-to-day job, but it's like a nice golden nugget that you can find on your exploration tool. So next time you are in the caves, better bring a mining attachment with your multi-tool. We additionally cleaned up the way that resources are distributed throughout Stanton, and this is because we want to make resource gathering future-proof. With the introduction of crafting that will come further down the road, with its first implementation with the hull scraping gameplay, so you already got a glimpse of it. But what is important there is that we get a better control of where to find certain materials, and also...
Sorry, I muted myself. Honestly, just that they're mentioning crafting in the same conversation that they're talking about specific resources with specific lasers, like, we're starting to get to a point where it feels like mining might actually matter in the greater context of the game, which is, I think, what a lot of people have been waiting for.
Perspective, it's more interesting for players to know where they have to go to find certain material types. So what we did is we defined standard materials and quality or like rarity-based materials. Standard materials are something like copper, like iron, like something that you know from real life is used in basically every item that you find around.
Those are building materials. Where are we going?
And those have distinct locations now within Stanton. For example, aluminum you can only find around Crusader, where copper you can only find around Microtech, which, so as a disclaimer, can change during our development, but just to give you an idea that we now have distinct location where you can find these defined standard materials.
So that's a good start. I really hope it's not planet-based. I hope they can make it more location-based. You can find copper in these mountains. You can find iron in these caves. You can find quantanium in this part of these asteroids. And what would be extra awesome is if that eventually, I think all we kind of hope, gets wrapped into the quantum simulation and the economy, and it spreads out these resources based on where they should be on a planet. Ooh!
That doesn't mean that you cannot find the standard materials elsewhere. There are chances of you finding them elsewhere, especially asteroid belts get more attractive because they have a more diverse
What's going on here? Oh, this is the yellow asteroid belt. So this is showing like the concentrations of things in the asteroid belt. This asteroid belt is happening. So red is Ares Inferno salvageables. Blue looks like Reclaimer salvageables. I don't know. It says Reclaimer, multi-geo. Yellow is Avenger Titan salvageables. Orange are mineable rocks. Green are mineable rocks. Pink are mineable rocks. It's just a lot of stuff happening in this asteroid belt. But it's cool to see actual representations of how the resources are scattered. I hope they talk more about this throughout the year.
Spectrum of materials. But on the planet side, like you know from Earth, we just have very distinct locations where you can find those rare earths. And what we also introduced is that each of the standard material always have certain more rare or rarer materials associated with them. So this gives you a glimpse of where we are going, where our intention is to have star systems with exclusive materials that you need for your crafting. So you have to travel to a certain star system to get the material that you need for whatever item you would like to create. There are two more things that we updated. So one thing that we noticed is that mining is a difficult profession. And we want to make the obstacle less
oh my god, it's a monster.
threatening for new players. And
it's the
that
final boss.
means that we improved our mining UI a little.
The old mining UI was one of the most
So the old mining UI, 2 curved bars on the outside. You got your velocity and ship controls on the far left, mining laser in the middle left, scan results in the middle left, cargo on the middle right, cargo on the far right. Okay.
Developed UIs in the game. It was one of the most readable already, but we discovered some improvements we could add to it to make it more enjoyable to the players. But we had like some slight issues with, you could say, clutter, basically.
So this is actually, I'm sorry, I'm stopping it so much, but this is a lot of interesting stuff. So this is important. They're talking about updating the UI for mining, and they're not looking at the UI team. I think that's key to know, because people have been talking about how like building blocks got finished and it allows other teams to work on UI outside of the UI team. This might be what's happening here.
Basically, with the center part of the screen with too many elements flashing. So for the next update, we moved some elements together.
I compacted it a lot. So laser intensity, the velocity controls are in the inside of the laser range and stuff now. Looks like they've combined some of the dials, added a little more context with color. Definitely compacted it. It looks cleaner.
For example, we moved the mining throttle next to the power charge of the asteroid. Since those two elements are semantically related, we've added a range bar to the left with all the ranges you need to keep in mind, like scanning, blast radius, and mining range of your head. We shuffle less relevant UI elements to the bottom of the screen to clear up space on the center part and on what you are looking at. We've also changed the display of scanning to make it less disruptive to the mining experience, and we've improved a little on a bunch of things like color to make it. We've also changed the display of scanning.
So they've changed the display of scanning. That doesn't necessarily mean they've actually updated it, because that's one of the big problems with mining.
Improved a little on a bunch of things like color and element positions within each card of the screen to make it more readable.
So now it is easier for you to see what distance you have to keep from the rock, what dangers you encounter on the rock, how your mining head actually is set up right now, and all the parameters that you need to know if the rock that you are targeting is actually mineable. For that, we even added a little helper that basically tells you, hey, it is very doable, it's an easy mining approach, it's a challenging mining approach, or it's an impossible one. Because now there will be impossible one. And this is where our last change for this update comes in, which is multi-crew mining. We thought that the size of the rocks and the power it required for multiplayer mining was sufficient, but especially with the mining gadget,
I'm sure Salty Michael have plenty to say about that.
You could bring down the resistance so much that like multi-crew mining wasn't as needed anymore as we actually intended. And that's the benefit of having a game in a live environment where you, as the community, create videos, create reviews, post like comments on the spectrum that you are basically not as satisfied with the gameplay as you would like to be, and this is now our opportunity, and we saw the need in it to make it even more future-proof for all the upcoming systems. So we wanted to encourage players using the mole in a cooperative environment. And what we think lore-wise was that what makes sense and was an easy win for us was that because you are sharing one system, one computer on your mole, you basically have a way to synchronize your mining lasers. And by that, you get the benefit while sitting in a mole to decrease the instability of the targeted rock drastically. So if you compare this with a prospector hitting the same rock with, like if you have 3 prospectors hitting the same rock, you will get a punishment basically in terms of instability.
Somebody tell me why full-time hitman at CIG is doing mining. Clearly, devs are not doing the jobs that they've been assigned, and I will not stand for this.
So we
Go kill someone, hitman.
wanted to make sure that it's still solvable. If you are an expert miner, you can counter the instability there. But it's more effort that you have to put into it compared to a mole.
So it's a nerf on multi-ship mining, which gameplay-wise, I get it. I mean, they have to do something. They kind of painted themselves into a place where they need to really differentiate big ships from little ships. I'm not sure how that solution will stand up when it comes to all the things, though. Things like salvaging or what else is there? I mean, if you expand that concept out, I would just hope that it might sit a little more cleanly with the lore. The lore explanation's a bit iffy, but gameplay-wise, I'd like to see how this plays out. I like that it's encouraging multi-ship gameplay, and this is before people are going to have to manage the engineering of the mole anyways, so you'll probably need 4 or 5 people on a mole then, if you're doing a lot of work all at once. I think this could be pretty good. I think this could make mining more interesting, especially when you get in one ship together, which is... Getting into one ship with other people is very unique to this game. That's something that they should continue to encourage and try and build into more gameplay loops. So I'll be interested to see if in 3.19 we start seeing more multi-crew mole parties going out. We'll definitely be trying it in our own org to see how it goes.
Yeah, with you have a high instability rock and you have 2 friends or 3 friends, you better pick your mole over the 3 prospectors because you will have an easier mining experience picking the mole. And there's one more thing that ties in with the difficulty or increase of difficulty that we intended with this update, and that basically brings us back to the resources and the update that we did for the resources. Something we didn't have before but we will now introduce is that each resource composition will have an effect on the weight or on the mass of the mineable. So that means there are certain materials that are heavier and therefore harder to crack. So you definitely need to bring friends to be able to crack the stone with the super dense materials in comparison to resources that are less dense and are more porous. So you will have an easier.
So does that mean that the resistance and instability that we were getting before was mostly randomized? Or was it based on a value? Because definitely if you got a high quantanium rock, it would be harder to mine. I don't know if the instability and resistance had a relationship with that or if it was just the size of the window that you were mining in. But that's interesting. Because if it is based on material now, I guess that makes it all more dynamic, a little bit more natural. I hope that it will also then... Someday, the actual weight will affect our ship, right? Because that's supposed to be a thing too.
Life or easier mining approach with them. This will not make single-player mining worthless. It will make it more interesting, for sure. Because like we also will update a little bit of the trading. So
you also are going to have to use gadgets and subcomponents as a single miner. This makes single mining more involved. They're definitely going to need to make sure there are areas with very easy minerals for the starters, but it sounds like it's going to make mining more involved for every part of mining, multi-crew and solo mining, which is good.
It is even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even the less rare materials because of the redistribution of the resources. Suddenly there is a demand at the other side of the universe for aluminum, for example. So you might wonder when this update will...
Did he say that's actually happening, or is he speculating about the future? Because that's a big deal if it's actually happening.
Like we also will update a little bit of the trading. So
he said we will update. I don't know. I don't think that's something that's coming in 3.19.
It is even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even the less...
Sorry.
Approach with them.
Going back.
Easier life or easier mining approach with them. This will not make single player mining worthless. It will make it more interesting, for sure, because like we also will update a little bit of the trading. So
yeah, I don't think this is included in the update.
it is even more valuable, or you get more profit out of even the less rare materials because of the redistribution of the resources. Suddenly there is a demand at the other side of the universe for aluminum, for example. So you might wonder when this update will be available to you. And I have some good news. So you might have seen the content that we put in this video already. So it is already in a playable state for us, but not only that. Right now we are on a good track to have it inside or have it part of the next major release after our 3.18 patch. We are very confident that it will be in 3.19.
He put a date on it. Oh, nice. We got another picture. Ooh. Those X-Wings look... I mean, those Scorpius look good. It's a Pico. So that last bit is probably the most interesting part of the whole episode, and unfortunately, it's probably not going to come in 3.19, but he was alluding towards the idea of demand for materials in places where they're more rare. And since he did say that they're changing the distribution of those materials, I guess maybe that's something that's happening in 3.19 if they're already changing the distribution, but I don't know how much they're fiddling with prices or commodity values or anything because they haven't mentioned that too much. I do hope they clarify on that a little bit and mention more about what they're thinking when it comes to those prices. Because if prices are going to change dynamically in Stanton, that's a completely different ballgame. Like that's a game changer for mining. That makes mining an actual profession, especially if they start bumping up the prices a little bit. And adding importance to commodities like iron. I mean, this, possibility of crafting in the near future, I don't know. Possibility of actually materials mattering because of at least their monetary value. Sounds kind of close.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that resources are being redistributed throughout the Stanton system and include new additions to vehicle and FPS minables. That the UI continues to evolve and improve the player experience. And that balancing changes to everything from heads to consumables to gadgets and to the resources themselves means that Alpha 3.19 will bring a thoroughly updated experience to miners when it arrives later this year. Now, as for Alpha 3.18, it's available to all players now in OpenPTU, so don't miss your chance to get in there and bang on the pipes, as it were, to help us get things to a live release. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week.
See you later, J-Red. All right, guys. So I got most of the stuff I wanted to say during the episode out. Would love to hear what you think of the mining changes in the comments, though. I think this is a good change. I don't think this is all the change that's needed. But again, we're still dealing with just one type of mining. Remember that we have different mining ships that are coming out in the future. We're supposed to get deposits that are like mining veins, so you can actually bore drill into asteroids or planetary surfaces to mine. So this is still them building out the first version of mining, which again puts into perspective how long the development of this game is and is going to keep going for the next few years. But it is a positive change. I'm going to have to talk to a couple of the miners in my life to see... Oh, God, that sounds so bad. I'm going to have to talk to some of the people who mine in Star Citizen that I know to see what they think of this and how they think it'll shake out. But can't wait till 319 and we can test it. Either way, folks, hope you enjoyed this one. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you next week.